ready to talk hockey. Streaming from the Oilers Live studio. Subscribe or follow today.
Hey, it's Michael here from Oilers Live, and I'm pretty excited to have back on Oilers Live again Miss Amy Jones. And thanks for joining us, Amy. And as of course, I've got my co-host with me, Mr. Mike Dursa, my extra special guest every Monday and Thursday. Thanks for joining, Amy.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. It's going to be fun. I'm excited to finally talk about hockey.
That's right.
And I guess we could throw Max Kellerman into that group and talk about it
too. Yeah. Okay. I feel kind of. Did you know who Max Kellerman was prior? Like, did you know prior to today?
Yes, yeah. I did.
So I didn't. I had to look him up.
Really?
Well, I mean, he was a boxing commentator, I guess, right? And who moved into sports, I think, only for maybe the past 4 or 5 years. It looks like he's kind of expanded his horizons. But, I don't really watch a lot of ESPN here. I mean, we got TSN and Sportsnet and that. But there I was strolling through Twitter, and Max Kellerman became a bit of a legend among hockey fans today. And so I had to look him up. He's got like 530 or 40,000 followers on Twitter, which means he's, reasonably well-known fellow. I have to say, and no offense to Max, who could care less what I think, but I had no idea who he was until today.
Yeah. I like that. There you go, Max. Take that.
That's right. He's never coming on this show.
Never.
No.
Yeah. I know. I was telling Caleb, I'm like, please tell me he just did that like for some publicity or just to go back at Stephen A. or, I don't know, but that really upset me.
Let's start there. I mean, I don't know if we had an idea of where we're going to take this tonight, and I'm just happy to have you back because you're. I was thinking about this today. I did this podcast. I think you start a podcast, you want people to listen to you, and you slowly realize that nobody tunes in for you; they tune in for the people you have on the show. And so you're that person today. You get to be the person everybody's tuning into.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers. Okay, I know the final numbers, but let's pretend it's a lot.
Yeah. I think everybody.
We will lie.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So like Max Kellerman, he says, it's kind of a funny line. He says there are usually 20,000 people in a U.S. city that love hockey, and they're all season ticket holders. In some cases, I mean, we had, what was his name now? Luke from Arizona, one of the sports commentators last week. And from Arizona, in lots is made of Arizona and Florida, right? Like you watch a Florida game, and there's more people on the ice than there are in the stands. I think you live in Texas, if I'm right. What's it like there? I know I've been to Dallas. In fact, I think there's a lot of hockey fans in Dallas. What's your feeling? I mean, when you walk around town, do people talk hockey, or is it the fourth or fifth major sport?
Well, they do. They definitely talk hockey. So it's grown like the last 10 years. It's just grown unbelievably here. And but of course, you do have the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Mavericks and the Rangers. So I mean, it's getting there. And I think the more obviously any team that's winning, particularly in an area that's not a hockey hotbed, that helps. And so I think the last few years, I obviously don't pay as much attention to them as I normally would in a different situation. But I think it's gotten, there's a lot of hockey fans here. It's not just, Max, the season ticket holders, but it's it's really cool now. Like you do see the jerseys and like the random people with the t-shirts and the hats, and so I have noticed a lot more. It's definitely it's one of our sports. It's not like the little sister, little brother anymore. It's one of the major sports, and there's a lot of fans that attend
Didn't
those games in the
didn't
city.
Max say didn't Max say like hockey wasn't even one of the four main sports in the United
That's
States?
that's what he said.
Tell me one that's in there. Like I think there's
The
only
other
four,
one.
right?
He's
That's where he
probably
lost me.
thinking boxing, right?
Yeah, that's where he lost me.
No, he's just talking. He's just talking gibberish. That's all he's doing. Those are ratings right there because look, we're talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. The
He's
man gets paid
I
to have an
kind of like
opinion.
it because now we're all like hyped up and on the
You gotta
defensive.
defend hockey. That's right.
We're ready to box. Like,
That's right. That's
so,
right. That's right. Hey, and
so
my life is fulfilled now. I know who Max Kellerman is.
there you go. Yeah, now you can die in peace.
That's right.
Okay, you know that.
So
Um, yeah, that's super funny. But I just thought of that as we're sitting here. Is like now, it's everybody's talking about what he said now, so it's great. It kind of
oh
like
yeah.
lights up, lights up hockey. So that's good for us.
Well, he'll know hockey Twitter now. I think that when you look up his
Yeah.
name, in fact, when I did a search for Max Kellerman, the very first thing that came up, you know how it does the predictive search, was Max
Mhm.
Kellerman hockey. so,
Oh my
so
God,
that's how
that's
big
funny.
that's got to be trending in the search. So I've got to ask. Now we're talking about hockey and how popular it is in the U.S. On your block, in your little area, your community. What kind of fans do you find there? A lot of Oilers fans, a lot of CBJ fans. Or are there Stars fans? What's the general makeup of the fan base?
It's probably like when you go to any game. If you've got Chicago, you're always gonna have Chicago
Oh,
fans.
I mean, in your neighborhood.
Oh, my neighborhood.
I mean, they've got,
Um,
yeah, you've got your
there's
neighbors, right? They got to
actually
know
not
who
a.
Seth and Caleb are, right? Yeah,
I live in this really small neighborhood,
yeah.
and I'm a bad neighbor. I have I know like one of my
Oh
neighbors.
no, oh no.
I'm never home.
Yeah,
Like I went to Nashville with Seth for 3 years and moved into a brand new neighborhood that was just being developed,
yeah.
and it's really small. Like there's 4 streets in this neighborhood, and it was just kind of private and secluded in its own little area. And um, but I'm never home. I'm travel so much, and I was traveling so much for work and then hockey. So I'm really good friends with the lady next door, but I haven't made very many friends with everyone else, to be honest. So you called me out on that.
Oh, so-
Confession time here with
Kind of
Mike and Mike.
embarrassing.
that's right. That's right. Now I'm in big. I mean, I haven't made you cry yet. I mean, I think that's the really the
Yeah,
that's what.
that usually like comes if I start talking about my kids,
Oh
and
yeah.
then everyone just goes their own direction. That's easy to do.
Oh.
Um, anyway, so what else have we got?
Oh, well, lots. I mean, I think about that. I think, the one thing we've got a couple questions already coming in off of some of the platforms. One thing though that was crossing my mind, and having had the chance to speak to you before. In fact, we didn't do it by video last time. We just recorded audio. I just spoke to you, I think, on the phone, and I remember every time I asked you about your kids, I didn't need to see the smile on your face. I could hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering, I know despite all of the crap and everything that's going on right
Here we
now,
go.
yeah, despite all the crap that's going on right now, you
Mhm.
had both Seth and Caleb at home with mom for a pretty extended period of time during what would normally be hockey season. I know
Mhm.
you wanted to see them out on the ice, but it had to be pretty amazing for you. And I think that's Caleb's girlfriend, who you seem to adore with all your heart
Yeah.
too, seeing all those things.
Mhm.
What was that like for you, just to have I think your babies, right? Your babies at home, and
Yeah.
yeah, how was that?
Um, Seth was only here 2 weeks because of his ankle.
Oh yeah.
So, and they weren't able to, access any ice here. So he was here 2 weeks. He had to go back and finish rehabbing, and he's able to get on the ice there because he was injured. So I only had him home for 2 weeks. He's going to come home for a couple days next week. So that was a little bit short, but it was made up for because I've had Caleb since the middle of March.
Oh.
And so, yeah, and I don't have any girls. And so I really have taken to his girlfriend almost a little bit too much, I think. They have to remind me that she's not mine. And I can't take her side. If she's upset or I think she's upset, I'm like, what'd you do? Make it right. He's like, Mom, we're just sitting here. So, no, it's, at this time, your kids grow up and they go off, and might even say, like, Mom, most people want their kids to just go away, like when they graduate, and like, stop that. Yeah. Why do you always want us here? And I'm like, I just want to, yeah.
Oh, he's got to say hi.
Just some buddies of mine. Just some buddies.
He has got to come say hi.
Uh-oh.
Oh man.
Oh, look at this guy.
Yeah. Hey.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, Caleb.
So Caleb, you can't see me, but you met me in the lobby of the Marriott. I was the big tall guy who said I had your mother on the podcast at one point. And
Remember that? That was right outside the elevators, no?
yeah, and you just played Winnipeg. I think you got a high sticking penalty, and I said I'm not sure your mother's going to be too happy about that one.
Oh yeah, I remember. I think we won that game, if I remember right.
You did.
Oh.
You did. That was the when Leon said you fans are fucking phenomenal after that game, which was
Yeah.
Welcome to Spittin' Chicklets, kinda.
yeah.
Different version.
Yeah.
Oilers version of Spittin' Chicklets here.
Oh man.
Well, you got him here if you want to ask.
Oh.
First, that question. Ask him what it's like with all this extended time with his mom.
Oh yeah. So
How special
He's been in
has
the
that
gym,
been?
Mom.
I'll say
How
this.
special has that been?
Caleb, we had I had your mother on the podcast last year about this time, and I was just telling her I could sense, and last year we didn't have video, but I could sense every time she spoke about you and your brother just how proud she was, and I could hear the smile in her voice, and now I get to see it for real. So I said, like we all as fans, which probably to no end can really get you going sometimes. She's pretty popular among us Oilers fans, and we see her hanging out with you here during this time off. What's it like for you? For her, she's loving it, by the way. She's loving having you and your girlfriend there. How's it like being at home around your mom and her stealing time, your girlfriend's time all the time?
always taking her side.
Don't get her head too big about you guys loving her.
Yeah.
No, it's been good. I come home every summer, so it's kind of been, if you really look at it, since the season ended in March, it's been about, now we're like 2.5, almost 3 months. So it's almost like, with the season looking like it might start here in the next month or two, like almost like a regular summer. So I've kind of just been here, and it's a nice stable place to be able to come and just get away from everything. And yeah, she's loving my girlfriend being here, that's for sure. I think she kind of secretly wanted a daughter, and she didn't get one. So I think she's kind of been taking that and trying to.
It wasn't a secret. Okay. He was supposed to be a girl. I named him a girl. I tried to force a girl. Did not happen.
Did not happen.
Hey, my last son, we had a 3D ultrasound, and they told us he was a girl. So surprised he wasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, no
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. We had to take back a whole bunch of pink stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that was crazy.
And that's how the song "A Boy Named Sue" came about.
How old are all your kids?
My oldest is 20. His brother is 17, and the little man's 12. the girl.
The girl.
Yeah, I've got 20, 16, and 9. I've got
You've got the
Yeah.
gymnast.
yeah, the gymnast. That's right. Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
see you. I see you.
She's quite the little athlete for a 9-year-old, and she's a huge Oilers fan, by the way, Caleb. But she was born in Calgary. Don't let that get out too far. But my middle child, when we first, I'm based in Calgary, but I was a season ticket holder last year actually for the Oilers, and the first time I moved to Calgary, my oldest daughter, she was just 4 years old, and we moved into this house, and they had this Flames banner in their window. And we get out of the car to get into our new place, and she starts yelling, "Boo!" I'm looking at her. I couldn't figure out what she's talking about, and she's pointing. Don't do that. Don't do that.
What's that saying? Raise them right.
That's exactly it.
Raise her right, that's for sure.
When
so Caleb,
go
Caleb,
ahead.
Did your mom play Jenny from the Block for you too, or was that just Seth?
I'm pretty sure if I think hard enough, I could probably remember a time she's done it.
Yeah.
Hey, we went through our, it was.
Is it still
J-Lo
edgy, Amy?
hot back then.
Is it still edgy?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I'm still J-Lo.
Oh no.
I have a lot. Oh man.
Oh well.
We had some good times.
Yeah.
I read that article, and it made me think of my mom, because when I was in grade 9, like in Canada, it's a little different than the States, but in grade 9, I played junior high basketball, senior high basketball, and hockey all in the same season. My dad coached like all the time, so my mom was taking me all over the place and made me think, I owe everything to my mom too.
Man, those are good times.
Yeah.
I am convinced like you get more out of your kids like in the car because they're confined with you. So you eventually
Run away, yeah.
That's where you get all the scoop. Like secrets come out, less and less now. Like I'm always wanting to know locker room secrets.
Yeah.
They don't get told.
No.
That's that boy.
Yeah, now it's like what did I do? I think I did it to Seth last year. I was like, you used to tell me a lot of stuff, like give me something. I'm not gonna tell anybody, just something. And it was just like the dumbest thing. Well, yeah, we went to the Christmas party and we stayed till 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or,
Yada yada yada, right? Yeah.
I'm like, okay, that's not even right. But no, they honor that code of, they keep it. It's the boys' club right there. They tell nothing. So,
What happens in the dressing room stays in the dressing room.
If I ever get anything, though, I'll be sure to let you know.
Oh.
Not.
Caleb,
That's why she doesn't figure. That's why we don't tell her right there.
You bet, yeah. You're the first active player I've had on the podcast, and I want to ask you something because this is such an amazing arena, Rogers Place, right? And you're a young guy, and you've you've been lucky enough to play in the NHL, which there's so many kids in Canada that have dreamt about that, but not just the NHL, but for a storied franchise like Edmonton, in a brand new arena that is state of the art. What was your first experience like walking into that dressing room and knowing you were going to play that night? Like, and I'm not talking preseason. I'm talking like a regular season game, like the real deal.
Yeah, I remember. I think I got called up last. Well, I guess it would have been December of 2018. So I think it was December 13th or 12th was the day, and I think we played Philly at home on the 14th was my first game. I remember everything kind of felt normal. I took my pregame skate and kind of felt normal all the way up, and then I walked in and you kind of see the jersey, and I went through my whole pregame routine, and everything still felt normal. And I think when you were in there getting dressed and then the cameras come in and you're kind of you're there, and that's when I started to feel a little bit like nervous and real antsy, just because it was obviously exciting time, and then going out for warm-ups, obviously, there's always already a good crowd there just for warm-ups, and it's kind of just a different atmosphere. And it was weird. You kind of like a little bit of an empty feeling, like not a bad feeling, but you're really anxious and kind of nervous and excited at the same time. It's a really weird feeling. I really can't describe it, but it was exciting going out there for my first game and seeing the crowd, and basically every night's a sellout. So it's always exciting to play.
An out-of-body experience.
I guess that's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Okay. I think I asked your mom the same question, but from a from a mother's point of view, and it was very much the same type of response. I think she might have had an out-of-body experience.
She was having the same feeling as a mom. So.
Yeah.
Okay, I was with the fans. We were like having a beer. We're like team. I had a lineup here. I had friends, and I had a whole cheer squad going with me.
So I got to give a shout out to our stats guy, Bob, who's a guy that listens in all the time, gives us our stats on the show. He says, these are your stats from the first game, December 14th of 2018. So 4 days before my birthday, by the way. 11:59 of ice time, 18 shifts, three blocked shots, and you played against the Flyers. So that sounds like a pretty good first game from my and the Flyers. I mean, that's a good franchise to start up against, right?
Yeah, it was fun. Definitely nervous. Took a while. Took about a period and a half to kind of try to settle in, but it was fun. It's something you never forget. Obviously, you kind of got there, and you just kind of take it all in, and eventually it starts to become normal, and you just hopefully start playing hockey. And it was enjoyable. It was nice to see all the work kind of pay off.
Now ask him something that's like not the typical hockey thing, because they all give the same answer. I watch the same interviews that you watch, and I'm like, can you guys like change it up? This week it's amazing. It was amazing.
Well, one of the first things
your first NHL game supposed to be like, it was awful.
It was a great team effort.
First NHL game sucked. I wish I never got here. Yeah.
It was a great team effort. Great team effort.
I don't really know what else to say.
Well, I was listening to this is one thing that
nice to win it, I'll say that. It was nice to win it.
Oh, I bet. Well, it's nice for us fans too. The one thing that I was listening to a Connor interview, and he was talking about. Actually, it was the interview where he did with Wayne Gretzky, and he's talking about lining up against Sidney Crosby and kind of being in awe. Who's the player that you lined up against for the first time, and you were like, "Holy shit!" Like, I'm looking at maybe it was Crosby, or even to that extent, maybe you go into the locker room and you realize that Connor McDavid's in there, right? Whatever it is, who's that player? Who's that player for you?
Oh,
or was there one that you can think of, or maybe there's tons?
You know what? Actually, I remember a game in Colorado this year, and McKinnon kind of went off in the third period on us, and I just remember lining up and looking over, and I was just like, I kind of just looked, and it was one of those moments where you're just like, okay, this he's on right now, and you just kind of looked at him, and it was a little bit like an awe situation.
I remember you calling after that, and you were like, oh my God, like the guy is for real. but he's like in the league. There's someone that you played against, and I can't remember who it was.
I haven't played against Seth yet. I will say, if I see Seth and we're lining up and I look over, that'll be a moment to remember. Just get eye contact with him.
He keeps saying he's going to fight him.
I would die if you drop the flippers. Yeah.
No.
I've been told it's mandatory. Fight your brother.
This one we'll try.
It's mandatory.
Who tells you it's mandatory?
100%.
Coaches set it up. You got to go on the ice, and you got to meet at center ice and fight.
Seth's just gonna laugh at him.
Mom's gonna have to just take it, and just who knows who she'll be. I don't know what she'll be doing.
She'll be crying. She'll be crying somewhere.
Don't make me come open the door.
That's right.
Break it up.
Caleb, who do you emulate
As a player?
Yeah.
Oh,
You
There's a
can go
couple,
life too if you want, but
there's a couple guys I like. I really like the way Yossi plays nowadays. I like him. Obviously, I watch Seth a lot. But I try to look at guys that maybe are kind of like my same height, weight, and kind of maybe play the way I want to play, like kind of a new age puck moving defenseman, like to skate the puck and be in the rush. So that's why I like Yossi a lot. He's probably the one guy I really would like to try to be like.
That's pretty cool. I mean, yeah, he's pretty amazing. The I was thinking, I listened to the first interview I had with your mom back last year. It was in April, and she would one of the things that stuck with me. She was talking about you, and we were talking about the difference between you and Seth, and she really loved the way that you were with. You talked about these canned responses. She thought that you were a very candid person. That you smiled more, and you were you were more out there with the the reporters and everything like that. Is like, how do you feel about that? I mean, as I think that when we see as fans is a real, she's right. We see this canned version of players,
So
and how do you respond to that? Like, do you care? Do you just kind of like you're out there being yourself, or are you really sort of cognizant that you're talking to what are thousands of different people every time a microphone's in your face?
I mean, honestly, I feel like during interviews, I just try to be myself and be honest. Obviously, you don't want to say anything that's gonna, be a controversial or create maybe a bad look. That's just, that's kind of just natural. But I try to just be myself. If I'm mad, if it's after a game and I didn't play when I'm mad, I'm probably not gonna hide it. I'll answer the questions respectfully, but I'm not gonna hide that I'm a little mad. And for the most part during interviews, I just try to answer the questions honestly and just be happy and talk to the media. Some guys don't really like the media as much, but I think, they're just asking questions. They want your honest answer. And if you give it to them, usually they're pretty happy with it.
Yeah. I think as fans
game.
we are.
It's just what it is.
Yeah.
I think that's part of sports.
It's kind of how you grow the game too. So.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about Tortorella too when I had John last, and if you want somebody that's candid, he wins that award. I mean, and at first, I'll be honest, it took me a little bit to get used to him, but then I started to really admire the fact that he was just honest with his emotions, and sometimes I still get a little bit upset when I see him on the screen, but. Honestly, I think it's great, and it is, it's good to have those characters. The other thing your mom said was back when you would play tournaments as a kid, she was always impressed that after the game, you would be back out there watching all of the other games.
Yeah, I always had a little thing for wanting to watch other teams and kind of see players, and that was something I just did as a kid. And I'd be at the rink we'd play maybe a 9 or 10 a.m. game, and our next game wouldn't be till 5. And, a few times I might stay at the rink and watch another game and then, maybe take a little rest and come stay at the rink all day, basically play my 5 o'clock game. And, it's just something I like to do. I just kind of enjoyed watching other players and seeing other teams. And I still have that. I love watching hockey to this day like that. So.
Yeah, and I think that's a great quality and shows a true athlete. Who was you? I think were introduced to the game when you were in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken. I know we talked a little bit about the Stars coming when Dallas was when you were in Dallas, but I think it was the players in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, that had some influence. Was there an NHL player from back then that you think was a real influence for you?
I was really young when we first got into it. I think Seth would have been 6 or 7. Mm-hmm. I was about 3. Mm-hmm. But the one player from Colorado that I'm sure everyone remembers is Joe Sakic, and that's just kind of the guy. Even at, I remember him. He was a legend in Colorado, and I knew him. I think he had a kid my age. Mom? I'm pretty sure close to my age.
He was a year older than you.
Yeah. Mitchell. So we saw him at the youth rinks when I remember she was a mite and Squirt. We would see him there sometimes, and I think our whole family kind of knew him. So
Yeah.
that's the
Didn't
one
they
guy.
used to call him Burnaby Joe? Isn't he
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
Burnaby?
He
Yeah,
is.
Burnaby Joe. Yeah.
Good memory. Yeah, he's a bit of a legend in Canada too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Such
no.
a classy
He's a
guy.
great,
Like,
he's a great guy.
gosh, such a classy guy. Yeah.
Street hockey big in Dallas?
Oh yeah,
Huh?
street
Did you
hockey.
play a lot of street hockey?
A little bit. Yeah, we
I
kind of
see
did in
inline
Colorado
skates.
and Dallas when we were all growing up. Someone had to put the goalie pads on, and yeah, we had fun. We have some pictures from actually back in the day too about that.
Wow.
Yeah, and when they were kids, they did that for years because we lived in the cul-de-sac, so we're lucky to have that cul-de-sac.
Did you know your neighbors then, Amy?
I did.
She doesn't know her neighbors now.
No, I know. We talked about that.
See, I told you. I'm never home. Well, I wasn't home. I know that one. They always have to go over and help her with stuff, so they know her too.
That's good. That's good. The this one's for Amy. There's Leslie Bryan on the Twitter feed says the ladies want to go for a beer with you next time you're in Edmonton. So yeah.
Thank you.
Here we go.
I'm looking for a friend group.
Here we go.
in Edmonton. Let's do it.
What are you guys starting here?
But we have to start a little earlier than normal.
Your mom doesn't need us to start anything. I don't think she does it all on her own. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Tell her I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in. Yeah.
That's.
I hope that we get to watch something this season
Mhm.
because I think if they make it to maybe the third round or the finals, they start letting some fans come in. Is that right?
I don't know. I haven't followed that directly. What's your I mean, both of you. What's your thoughts on this reseeding after each round? Do you have you thought about it? Have you looked at the way this works?
I just saw that today. I know they're voting on it. For me, I don't see it making a huge difference. I know they normally do the bracket. I actually like it. I think whoever the highest seed is that's in the next round should play the lowest seed that's gotten to the next round. I like it. I have no problem with it.
And to be really honest with you, they almost learn things not very long before you. I mean, it is almost like a daily thing or every other day. Like no one really knows anything. They're just trying to piece this together. And as you know, the government has a lot to do with that and each state and what's going on. So it has been so just shockingly up in the air, not knowing anything and it just changing randomly. So at least now they're actually starting to put some stuff together and it's happening. So I'm just glad it's happening. I don't think it would be, don't get me started on the fact that they need to come back and play. It's not good for hockey. Need the TV revenue, people.
I will tell you this, and I'm a long ways away from ever having a pro career, but I'm a 5 or 6 game a week player, and I tell you, if I could play today, I'd be out on skates right away if they just give me the go ahead, and so and I'd pay to play. So that tells you we love hockey out here, right? Yeah.
Man, their careers are so short. You kind of feel bad for the guys who maybe this was their last year or might only have another year or two left. Like I really try to instill in them to understand, like, take this in and understand that this, when you're young, you're thinking this is your career. And they don't understand that even if they get to play to 30 or 35, which is awesome, in sports, that's just the beginning of their life. Hi.
Hey.
The 30. Hey there.
That's Caleb Jones.
What's up?
Hi.
How are you? What's up? What's going on?
Nothing, just playing basketball.
Ooh,
Oh,
shoot
nice.
hoops. What position?
I don't really play basketball. I play hockey.
Oh, okay.
When I like to go outside and shoot on our hoop.
Just shooting hoops. Okay, got ya. Pick up, yeah. So what position in hockey?
Left wing or right wing.
Okay.
Winger. Okay.
Scoring goals.
Like his
Or to the
dad.
penalty box.
Yeah.
Or the penalty box.
Hey, yeah. I
Nothing
shouldn't
wrong
say
with
it, but
that.
I'm like, "Ooh, yeah."
I also remember talking to your mom, Caleb, and she was quite impressed with the way you'd stick up for yourself, and she was always quite she was quite proud of the fact that if somebody pushed you playing hockey, you'd push right back, and I what, love that. I mean, that's how we grow here playing the game, and she obviously she had a knack for being a hockey mom right out of the gate. She was encouraging it, right?
Yeah, that's interesting you bring that up. I've heard stories. I think we got a couple videos. Me being younger, I can't really remember. I remember a little bit, but I just was. I guess when I was really young, I was just a big bully out there, is what I was been told by multiple people. So not supposed to be hitting, and I guess I was pushing people down and running around out there a little bit.
Of course,
So if you ever get a goal song, Caleb, it's got to be the Ultimate Warrior music.
I'll take that. I'll take that.
Oh,
Nice.
All right.
New Jersey on.
Levels up.
Oh,
How many when you had your first game in Philly or against Philly? How many fans did you manage to get in the stands? I mean, most of the folks are probably outside of Edmonton. So were you able to get some people there?
I think I had my mom, my grandma. I had my old billet family when I was at the U.S. national program, and I think that was it. Just about 7 or 8. I think it was 7 people.
It's not easy to get there from here. Like, you can't take a 6 a.m. flight
Yeah.
and make the game.
Yeah.
You have to come the day before.
Yeah.
And so it's tough. So
now the Billet family, I know again you were in Portland, same place as your brother. You had one Billet family there. Is it the same Billet family or was it a different family?
Yeah, in Portland it was the same one. That wasn't the one at the Philly game, but that was the same one as my brother had when he played in Portland too.
Yeah, we did have a question that was, what's your favorite memory from playing in the WHL?
Oh,
or a favorite memory, I should say. There's probably many.
I think just winning a playoff series my last year. We had a pretty young team, and we weren't really supposed to do much. And Mike Johnson actually just got rehired, and I kind of stuck around with the team all year. And we had a young group, but we won about 40 games, and we were able to win a playoff series. And then I think we lost to Kelowna in 5. But I just remember that feeling because we weren't supposed to win this series. We were kind of a little bit of underdogs, and we won in 6 against Prince George. It was just a good feeling because we kind of worked hard together that year, and it was a lot of young guys, and yeah, that was my favorite memory.
And playing up in Prince George smells awful up there.
That bus trip, we kind of messed up having to play 6 because we had to go back for 5.
Yeah.
14-hour bus ride up there.
Oh wait, didn't your passport not make that trip?
Oh yeah, game 1 and 2.
That's my son.
Game 1 of the series, I left my passport in my car. So we got into Canada, and my passport, they gave a big bag of passports, and I guess they just didn't really check them, and I got into Prince George. And so we had to have our police liaison basically break into my car, get my passport. We had to keep it quiet, drive up to Prince George. I couldn't let anyone know because we didn't want them finding out I had my passport in there. Drive up to Prince George with my passport in time for game 2, so when I went back to the States, I had my passport. Yeah,
like I said, that's my son.
That's my son. Yeah, there you go. That's it was there. Now I've got to ask this. Now seeing you and your mom together here, was there ever been a time in the WHL, maybe in the NHL, where you heard your mom as a fan above everybody else? And there's probably a whole bunch of times, but maybe, has there ever been a time where you're sitting on the bench and you can hear, "Go Caleb," and
Definitely not in Edmonton.
Okay.
It's
pretty loud.
Fans. I don't think in Portland.
No?
It's too loud.
Definitely in minor hockey, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Team USA probably.
I heard it a few times. I heard it a few because we need a lot of fans where we played at for the national program. So I think I've probably heard her a few times. I've heard her. I used to, when I was younger, I heard her and my grandma a few times. I had a double whammy with that one when I was younger.
Double whammy.
It is, I mean, it's, definitely not in Edmonton, though.
Oh, well, yeah, it's a pretty big
Yeah,
arena.
yeah.
I got to
If I
ask,
heard her in Edmonton, I'd probably be like, okay, what's going on up there?
Max, Max, you're here. You've got to have a question for Caleb. I mean, this is a pretty good time for a little one to talk to a guy that's playing in the NHL. You shoot, go for it.
Have you ever had a time where you were feeling like it was too much pressure on you in the NHL?
The hard hitting stuff here, Caleb.
Now we're getting somewhere. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I would say sometimes when you're first coming up, like when I first would get called up and stuff, yeah, I think it takes a while to settle down and kind of just stop being starstruck with, seeing McDavid and Draisaitl and all those guys and kind of starting to feel like you belong. So yeah, I would say my first year getting called up, I think that was a little bit of a whirlwind. I would say this year when I went back up in November, I felt it for a couple weeks, I would say, but towards January and February, it kind of faded out and it went away.
Okay. I would feel really pressured because, there's so many, good players that have been playing there and been in the NHL for so long and know the game pretty much more.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, it's like we play San Jose, I'm looking at Joe Thornton. I was watching him when I was like 9 years old, and you're, trying to go against it. It's just natural. I think everyone kind of goes through it a little bit when they're up there, and you kind of just have to not think about it because if you think about it, then all of a sudden, he probably beats you and scores. So it's kind of a tough situation, but.
I think one of the things that I've learned as a parent is that it's hard, the young kids, because, just what he's talking about, you see these guys have been in the league forever. You have to feel you belong there. And until you feel that, you're nervous and you're worried and you're insecure and you're scared to make a mistake. And as your confidence grows, and this literally has come out of his mouth, that's why I'm saying that, but as his confidence grew and in the summer they get stronger, I've even had the guy that they skate with in the summer, he's like, Caleb he's a whole different person than last summer, but it comes with feeling like you belong. Because everybody knows if you don't feel like you belong, then you don't belong. You have to know you belong.
I can tell you guys something funny about that too is, my brother, he's became a pretty good, defenseman in the NHL. I've been to the All-Star game a few times, but, if I'm going, we'll do battles in the summer, I don't get that feeling with him, and he's one guy I could, but it's weird because I don't get it with him. That's what our skating coach is saying. He's like, you'll go at Seth, who's 6'4", 220 all summer, and why are you in the NHL now and you're being a little tentative with these guys? That's a little bit of a brother thing, but
just gotta visualize your brother, I guess, every time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh man, I think one of the things I'm curious about, and you'd know this, I mean, you're in that stage. As you're growing up, I think when you start to get to those more elite levels where you're playing and you're going to make it, and you may never know you're going to make it, but you feel like you can. You get to the AHL, you're in a place like Bakersfield, and you're alongside some of the guys that you're fighting for spots with. What's that like? I mean, what goes through your head that, there's only a certain amount of spots and you all want them, right? And you gotta, you can't, obviously, you gotta want it more than a guy that, you're playing cards with on the bus the next night, right?
Yeah,
How's that?
Yeah, you're right. It's a different league for sure. I think the one thing I learned down there is everyone's trying to get to the NHL, but for you to get there, I think you do need to be a good teammate. You just need to work hard every day, and your focus needs to be to get out of there. And I think by doing that includes everything. You need to be a good teammate. Make sure you're showing up, doing the right things on and off the ice, and we've had a couple young guys from my team in 18-19 that were on the team this year. And it's an exciting time when we can see all the hard work that these guys are putting in, and everyone's getting a chance. But that's my main thing. I think if you try to get, you definitely can't get selfish and try to be like one of those, a bad teammate and just worried about yourself. I think you got to embrace the whole experience and take it in as a whole. And when you get to the NHL, you're more prepared if you do it that way.
Yeah, that's awesome. So while we've got your mom here, I've got to ask, what would you thank your mom for? Like in any, we got a hockey parent on one side here with Mike and
You're gonna make her cry.
Yeah.
There's going to be a really long list.
There's a long list. I know we don't have hours, but we've got a couple minutes. We've got Mike here, who's a hockey parent, and hockey parents that listen and watch. I mean, as the child of a hockey parent, what would you suggest?
I guess I'll keep it brief. Just there was always support. There was never. The biggest thing with her is she was just always supportive about it, and she pushed us to be better at the sport. She said if that was her biggest thing. It didn't matter if we played a good or bad game. She wanted to see us give an effort every night, and if we didn't give effort, we'd hear about it from her. And I think in the long run that actually helped out a lot, because that's to this day, even after a game in the NHL, we're still getting the same text we did now playing in the NHL than we got when we were 14 years old, 15 years old. Critiquing things, but she never forced it on us. She kind of let us just do our thing, and she just there's a lot of commitment from her, on all the trips and driving us, hours on end to the rink and back, and sitting there and watching. And we laughed that we always say, you don't know anything, but she has sat around and watched a lot of hockey for the past 25, 30 years, whatever it is, 25 years. So, I just think that's probably the biggest thing. If I ever had if I have a dad of a son, just being supportive and making sure to push them. And, usually, I don't know, I'll let you take over, Mom.
You can tell he's wrong.
Yeah, that's all right.
Basically, he appreciates. Let's sum this up. He appreciates
Get a little nervous.
that I was very hard on them and pushed them and didn't let them get away with anything and made them work hard, because it's not when you're in a team sport, you have one is playing. When you're in a team sport, that your team depends on you to be the best that you can be. And so if you're not giving your all, then you're letting the team down, and you have an obligation to that team. And as parents, we know it's not inexpensive to play this, for your children to play hockey. And I used to always say, if you want to not work hard, I can go put you in a rec league, and you can go skate your two days a week and do whatever it is you want to do. But if you're going to play for a team that's committed and is supposed to be a competitive team, then you're going to give your all, or we're going to have problems. And so that's with everything though, like give your all, and if you make a mistake, it's fine, but it better not be because you were slacking. So even in some games, I mean, not just him, but you'll see players have great games. Some of them don't. And sometimes we see it all the time on Twitter. Well, that was lazy. And, they're playing, it was a lazy play, but that's just how I raised them, was just to always work hard and to give your all, and nothing else is really acceptable in that.
Yeah, we had a couple stories. There's one that actually hits home with me. I remember, I think I was maybe 12 or 13. I might have been 11. I don't remember, but let's put it this way. My hockey equipment got put in a garbage can. I don't know if I suggest doing that, but it was like, you don't want to work hard and something, boom. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, I got to work. Like I liked it. For me, looking back on it, it was like a moment I can remember. I'm not saying I don't think it's a bad thing, because I remember I used to have a big issue with that when I was, she'll tell you.
He was so lazy.
And she was, I just remember,
my heart rate's going up right now thinking about it. That could not be my child out there being the lazy one.
Let it go.
Let it go. No, but It's a good story though, because I can
Yeah.
remember it actually. And
Well-
I was pretty young when that happened.
It's consistent with what she told me. She told me a year ago that she held you accountable, and she even said that that now the two of you hold yourselves accountable, and she really admired you for that. And in fact, we were talking about before you joined. We were talking about the game, Columbus and Tampa Bay, where Seth made a mistake early on in that game, and then came back really to be the star of that game and win it in the playoffs there. And we started talking about how Tortorella had benched him for a period one time, and how he came back after and said, "Yeah, I screwed up," and he understood. And then we got talking about you and how you're both really accountable for your actions. So obviously, some of it came somewhere, but I'm gonna have to maybe I'll edit that part out about the throwing the hockey stuff out. Where there'd be a lot of hockey gear in the garbage.
Throwing your
Yeah.
son's equipment in the garbage can, but
Luckily, there was 2 older brothers, so we had a whole bunch of equipment
yeah.
in the garage.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm pretty sure I probably got it out.
Yeah, I got it out. Trust me, I left that part out. I wouldn't got it.
Yeah.
Didn't stay for long. I went and
Yes,
picked it out.
snuck it out, did you? Worked extra hard the next time around. Jacqueline Reynolds asked, this is for your mom, Caleb. Did you play hockey too, or just the love of the game? Have you played? I mean, we've never seen you on skates. So you pick up a stick and shoot the puck around? Must have a mean slap shot, I bet.
I'd love to say yes, but I'm
So
really
do it.
getting gifted. But I have been on skates because that's how he got to skate. And we used to rent ice when they were little and have a bunch of people come out. And there was like 3 or 4 families we'd split it and play. But my career ended when my oldest son, Justin, decided to fake slap shot.
That's a funny story.
Take a fake slap shot like he was going to shoot at me. And I freaked out, fell, busted my knee.
Sorry, I remember.
That's the end.
Oh, the end.
That was
I think
bad.
Caleb wants to tell this one. Let's hear the story from the son's point of view.
I was really young. I just remember it was a really bad day for Justin.
My knee was black and blue.
Fake slap shot and just break down and drill their knee on the ice. Nothing on it.
Yeah, it was over. I was a better backward skater than forward. I don't know how that happens, but I was. I still think that they got that talent from me. And I support the effort. I don't ever get any compliments here, so I'm always patting myself on the back.
tough,
Can you tell?
tough kids. Yeah, tough kids.
Yeah.
Now I forgot where I was going to go with this.
Well, I want to know what you guys think about. Where are you guys with the season and what's going on? How do you guys? We're playing Toronto, right?
Chicago.
Oh,
Chicago.
Wait,
Yeah.
Columbus is playing Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and you guys are playing Chicago.
Best of 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think we have a really good chance against them.
Well, let's ask Max first. What's your thoughts, Max?
I think it might go to game 5 because, I just don't know because they have really good offense and they have Patrick Kane, they have Taze.
That's what Caleb said.
They have Duncan Keith.
Yeah.
Guy that one time he blocked his shot with his front of his teeth and he had to get all of them taken out. So you never know.
Yeah. You're right. That's Caleb did say Kane is always a wild card.
Kane having Chicago in a best of 5 just because of him and Taze, it's like you never know, right? You don't want them
experience
and all this going on, and it's
And because I don't think most of the people have been just doing stuff. They haven't been practicing. Maybe you never know. You might just be sitting around, and because Connor's
Caleb looks like he's been in the gym. You see his arm?
Yeah. I think you guys are gonna pull it out in game 5 because your guys' speed and your guys' young guns.
I think that's pretty accurate. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I know what, yeah,
That's a good call.
I don't mind that call.
We've got this on. This is recorded too, so we have it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Mike,
Call their coach, and because they got rid of one of their coaches that won the Stanley Cup with them.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Coach Q.
Oh, Quinville, that's right.
Yeah.
And their goalies, what's the name? Crawford's been around in the league for a long time, and he's an old fellow.
An old fellow. What do you call him?
Fart.
Old fart.
Oh, he's old. Say it how you want to say it. He's old.
Yeah. Just old. Yeah.
Woody's a good goalie. I think he's a good goalie.
No, I'm not a good goalie.
Pretty good team though. We have a pretty good team.
Yeah.
We got the young guns.
That's right.
We have Zach Cassian, the big hitter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The chirp.
So
He's one of my favorite players. And we have some good defense. Darnell Nurse, you. We have Clefbaum.
Bear.
And Bear. Bear's a new guy too. And probably not. I don't remember his name. I don't think he's not the team. And we have Russell.
Yeah.
yeah, Russell will be back. I guess Green will be back too, right? He'll be he'll be fully
Green.
healed up.
Mike Green.
He played a whole 2 games, right? Before he before he saw the IR.
I don't remember.
Think.
I don't remember. Adam Larson.
So you got a scrimmage against Adam Larson a few times. That guy looks like solid as an ox in the corners. Have you been in the corners against him yet?
I never have been.
No.
But I can't tell you that he is a big, strong human being.
Yeah.
Not a lot of guys like to go into the corner because they're gonna feel it after he hits them. So
Yeah, there's no
he doesn't
doubt.
lose a lot of battles. That's for
No,
sure.
no. I mean that's. He's just so solid back there. I'm sure he's a big guy too, but man, he looks like a tree when he's back there. Mike, your thoughts on the Chicago series? You better talk up that defense, though.
I think the kid listened to our last podcast when we did predictions because I'm pretty sure I said 5. I think it's going to be a little bit weird for you guys, really, because you've been off for a while and all of a sudden you're in kind of a pressure situation, but it's going to be totally different than what you're used to. I mean, when you're young in minor hockey, you play games in front of not that many people, but when you get to this level, playing in front of not that many people is going to be just sort of odd, I think. So I wish you kind of got, your first Oiler playoff experience in front of a full building, but it's just going to be different for you. So I think there's going to be a bit of an adjustment period coming out of the gate there, but probably midway through that first game, it'll start to feel like hockey again, and away you go. But yeah, we do it.
Did you have to?
You're right. It's gonna be weird with no fans for sure.
Did you order anything in special when you knew you were going to be away from the rink for a while? Like even me, and I'm an old guy by hockey standards go now. I ordered some fake ice and a couple of green biscuits, and I've been practicing my stick handling and all of that. What have you been doing to stay fresh and keep the hockey skills in check? Anything special?
No, nothing too special. We had a little bit of spent a little money to get some fitness stuff here and kind of create a little gym. But besides that, we've been able to work out and.
I saw the all-in-one bench there. It looks pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
No, I've been able to be on the ice till the last. I got on the ice like 3 weeks ago, and then I'm starting again here. But it's it won't take too long. Just a few weeks, kind of going consistently on the ice, and I should be good to go.
Awesome. Well, I'll give you my thoughts on that. I mean, you're 100%. I'd be Taze and Keith. I mean, or Kane. I mean, those guys are. I was reading one of Staples' articles in the Cult of Hockey, which was crazy. But Taze actually is one of the top 5-on-5 goal scorers in the league over the last couple of years, and I mean that's a good team. But we have number 1 and number 2 in league scoring, right? I mean,
Not too bad.
yeah, not too bad. I mean, if anything, 20 years from now, if you even say you played on a team with McDavid and Draisaitl, people will be. I was at I play in a lot of these charity alumni games, and it's funny because they always do a hot stove, and they usually have some of the old vets up there talking memories, and they did this hot stove. Glenn Anderson was sitting right beside me, and they had Walker was there, and Mayday, Bob Ray was there, and they started asking these players, who was your favorite player? And Glenn Anderson's there, he's not too bad. He's a Hall of Famer. But of course, they all said Wayne Gretzky, right? So I saw, and so, you're on a team with a couple of guys like, Leon and Connor, who will forever get all of this attention and that. But, 20 years from now, that's going to be, I think, pretty special. I imagine these friendships will last forever. That's pretty cool, and you got a special team going on. You've got, you've done a wonderful job. Last year when we had you on, when we had your mom on the podcast, you were just kind of cutting your teeth on being a player with the Edmonton Oilers, and I remember how excited we were as fans to see you up and coming, and you haven't disappointed. So we've been. It's been a pleasure. I was excited to get a chance to meet you in the lobby of the Marriott because, look, I love watching you play, and so on behalf of the fans that I know, thanks for entertaining us, because I think that it is just it's a wonderful thing, and if you're blessed with the talent to play in the the best league, fuck whatever Max Kellerman says. If you're if you're blessed enough to play in the best league in the world, then we're happy and thankful that you put in the work and the effort to get there. And you know what? If I leave without saying anything, go out there and win us some series this year. Like honestly, we're desperate.
Win the Stanley Cup, right?
That's right. That's right.
Caleb, your mom has done a wonderful job of raising a Southern gentleman. You are grace and class, and we are proud to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
She's getting a big head too because of that.
Yeah, she's getting even bigger head. Thanks, guys.
That's right. That's right. Well, I want to be respectful. I always try to be respectful of everybody's time. It's 9:30 for us. Are you on Central Time in Texas? Is that?
Yeah, we're on Central.
Yeah, so it's 10:30 there, or 11:30. 10:30. 10:30.
10:30.
Yeah, 10:30.
I'd love to have you on for a couple more minutes. But
whatever y'all want.
Yeah. I mean, we're. I know we're enjoying it.
Yet. We've got to say something like. We got to throw this out there so you go viral.
That's right. There are lots of people. Well, what I will do then is I'm going to. There's lots of people that are watching on the various different platforms, and just want to open it up. I'm going to watch the chat, and if you got any questions for Miss Jones or the young Caleb Jones, let us know, and we'll ask. I want to say, when are you? Have you heard yet when you're going to Edmonton to start the mini camp?
No, I have not. Right now, it's kind of still a wait and see on certain dates, but it's looking like things will start up in mid-July.
Okay.
I thought I heard the other day that ice is starting to go back into Rogers.
Yeah, so they're going to start some of those small groups for maybe some guys who are in Edmonton right now, or maybe around a little bit in Canada. But some of the guys in Europe and the United States with the 2-week quarantine thing are they don't want coming back right now and having to sit around for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair enough. Is there a guy on the team today that you'd consider kind of your good buddy? Like, is there one of the players there that you've become quite close with?
Yeah, I would say I have a couple. Bear and Yamamoto are probably two of the closest guys I've gotten close with. Bear and I've kind of done, if you look at everything the same coming in. We both played he was in Seattle, I was in Portland for 2 years, and then both in the American League roommates, yeah. He got called up that year, I think, at the end, and then the next year in December I was up, and it kind of was just step by step together. So it's kind of cool to come up with someone like that, and both of you are kind of doing the same things. It's exciting. Then I lived with Yamo a bit my second year in the American League when he came down to Bakersfield. So I got a good connection with him, and now I still talk to him all the time. And yeah, those are two of my closest friends.
Awesome. At Warriors Oilers on Twitter says, what do you think Edmonton, I assume the city, will be like when you guys go on a deep run?
From what I've heard, it gets pretty crazy down there from guys around that 16-17 team. I know I've heard from a few guys they've never heard building that loud in Edmonton before. I don't know which game, maybe game 3 or game 1 of the first round. They just said they never heard the fans be louder there. So whenever we can finally have a real experience like that, it's going to be exciting. And I know the city goes crazy when we're doing well, and it's great for the whole city of Edmonton. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the atmosphere in that building.
Maybe we can come on afterwards and I can tell you. We can tell you how it
That would be amazing. Caleb's like, don't promise anything, Mom.
You'll learn not to like walk
That's
in
right.
on me
That's
next
right. Oh man, I after I read that article your brother wrote in the Players Tribune, though, I tell you, we kind of got a sense of what you're dealing with over there.
Yeah, you got the sense. He probably displayed it well in that article.
Yeah.
Jacqueline asks, how hard is it going to be to not be able to go and actually see your boys play in playoff hockey?
Well, between you and I,
You sneaking in, are you?
Crashing again.
I'm working on that right now. I don't know that's going to be, yeah, that'll be difficult. But again, I am working on that right now.
Okay, we need more of a definition there. When you say working on it, you mean you're going to counseling or you're working on being able to go to the game?
Yeah, something like that. Like, yeah, CIA ops right now. It's just
Okay.
The CIA pulling all the strings.
out. I got some wigs. I pulled some stuff out from Halloween, and no, that is gonna really stink.
Yeah,
Like, really stink. But watching on TV is a lot of fun, and I'm gonna get the same, as everybody else. So it's gonna be difficult, but hopefully they both teams go pretty far and they make it to where it gets to where they do let some fans in the arena. I think I'm hoping August, September, at some point we can get in there and I'll be able to see some games. But that'll be difficult. But I'm going to be in the same boat as everyone else, and maybe we can get together and have a party. We're less than 10 right now.
Stats guy Bob says dress as the emergency goalie.
Yeah. That's a good one.
So do you have any friends, Caleb, that are playing on other teams in the league that you keep in touch with on a regular basis? Besides your brother, of course.
Yeah, there's a few guys I play with. I think my national team development program team has a lot of NHL guys right now. I can think of, I played with Matthews in Toronto, Keller. like Conan Rozovic in Winnipeg, McAvoy, Boston, Orensky. Like I can think we have a lot of guys. We probably have 15, 17 guys. Troy Terry, Anaheim. So there's a couple guys I still talk to every once in a while, and just go back and forth. Let's see how they're doing. But it's cool. So like a lot of the games I'm looking across the during warm-ups, and I see these guys, and we kind of just give each other a little laugh and smile, and that's cool to see people you were playing with at 16, 17, and we were kind of working at that time just to get drafted and kind of get our foot in the door a little bit, and seeing that many guys be successful is really cool.
That's awesome. I think if you're like me, I chirp those guys in the corner pretty bad if I know they don't get the friend treatment when they're or maybe they do get the friend treatment. I don't know, but I know that they'll go and have a drink with you after the game. So a little spear here or there is not a big deal, right?
No.
Good for the game.
Have you guys seen the meme about when the NHL comes back with no fans, how are the refs going to know they suck?
Oh,
Yeah.
You posted that
I got
yesterday.
the biggest kick out of that one. There's some funny stuff out there.
Oh.
That one was one of my favorites.
So when at Scrub 64 says, what is it like to become a mainstay in the NHL alongside a player like Ethan coming from the same draft?
It's awesome. It's both what we've been working for, it's what we've both been working for obviously our whole life, and it's kind of weird looking back now at the journey that we both took. It is cool. Like I said, it's cool to have that journey and going to the American League and having an experience about it. It makes you appreciate it much more when you finally kind of get there and you establish yourself, and you appreciate it a lot, and you're able to look back on little moments in your life that are really important, and you try to stay as long as you can because it goes quick.
Yeah.
There's that bond you coming up together.
Jacqueline says you also won't know when to shoot without the fans.
My kids won't, that's for sure.
Yeah, we're not going to know when to shoot the puck now.
No one yelling it.
I like that one.
Yeah, have to figure it out all on your own. Yeah, although I'm sure.
Do you guys do TikTok?
Yeah, well, I've become quite the TikTok producer because my 9-year-old is like. In fact, Amy, if you're on there, I'm going to send you her details. You need to follow her.
They won't let me do it.
Oh.
They're trying to like hold me back. They're trying to hold me down. I'm trying to get Caleb in some, and he tries to run my show, won't let me do my thing. Okay, is she on there? I'm gonna go on there.
Yeah. So she is totally, and then REM, totally REM. There you go.
Copyrighted music.
Okay, who is it?
Totally, and then REM, REM, totally REM.
Totally REM. Okay.
So I'll let her know that I'll let her know you're following her. She'll be excited about that. She's become quite the little TikTok dancer.
I'm trying to find it.
One word.
Yeah, totally one word. Yeah, all one word, no spaces.
Okay. With the kitty cat for the picture?
That's the one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, I'm following.
All right, I'll let her know. She'll be pretty excited about that.
That is cool. Okay, I'll have to go through them when I'm not on here because.
Yeah. Now's not a good time.
Yeah, there she is.
That is, yeah. She is quite the dancer. That's her. A mosquito attacked her while she was videoing a TikTok, and she thought that. So.
I've been trying to do the. They're dying because I always try to make them up, but I've been trying to do the whole. Savage, classic, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, please stop.
Just be quiet.
Is your girlfriend's not encouraging her, Caleb?
I know. Yeah, she definitely is probably encouraging her.
I pulled up the lyrics. I'm trying to memorize them, and then I'm practicing the dances in the.
That's when I just go upstairs and just the quiet space.
The quiet space. That's the. Now, did you and maybe we should get your mom to leave the room for this? Was your first place when you knew you were going to take some time off? Was your first thought you're going home to stay with mom and take time off, or did she kind of force your hand on this one? Because I'm guessing she didn't give you many choices. She said, "Well, you can either stay at my place or my place. Where are you going?" What?
Yeah, I mean, well, during this quarantine, it's kind of for now. It's been for forever, so I haven't really moved to that part where it's like I actually would have the option. It's kind of just one of those things, you know what I mean? You just go and just go home. It's like
I've gotten really lucky because the guy that they love to train with in the summers is in Dallas, so they don't want to leave him. Like they love training with him.
Oh,
yeah. So last summer was the first summer that Seth got an apartment, and Caleb did stay down there a couple nights a week or something, a few nights a week. And then I would text him and be like, "Are you coming home tonight?" So then he would feel bad, and he would come home and watch TV and go to bed. And the next night he would go stay with Seth. So lucky for me, they're still coming back to Dallas in the summers.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Dallas, you know what? I've been to Dallas a few times, and it's actually a really great hockey city. We were talking about it. I knew you were in Texas. I didn't know you were in Dallas, but I remember running into. In fact, I told this story just the other day. I ran into a guy at the Dick's Sporting Goods store, and we started talking hockey, and he played men's hockey in Canada during the winter. Caleb knows too well. You want to go for a beer, you're not doing it outside, right? Which is, well, we do that. We try to do. That's great. I got that on video.
That's a weird part of my back.
That's becoming the next GIF. He's talking about how after men's games, right, they can go and have a beer in the parking lot. And in Canada, we try to sneak them in the dressing room. So
I've heard some stories about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you may get there one day. you'll be guys like Ryan Smith played senior hockey not that long ago. Just a couple of years ago.
Now.
Yeah, his
kids are playing hockey in Nashville, and he's starting to get really involved, as I understand.
Oh, really? Okay, I wasn't aware of that. That's awesome. Yeah, he's that's Mike Dursa's favorite player of all time, right there, Ryan Smith.
Oh, really?
Well, we're the same age, and I don't know. I emulate his style because I just go to the net in front of the net and stand there and try to tip pucks. So.
He was the last guy to play with a wooden stick, I think. Yeah. It's quite the player. The other thing I found, and I don't know, you've had to have been to a lot of rinks in Dallas. I find it's interesting that hockey is so part of the Canadian DNA that every rink in Dallas that I've ever been to has a Canada flag in it. Like it's is that?
I did not even notice that.
Yeah, you'll notice now. Like it's got to be the only place in Texas, right, where you see Canadian flags all over the place. Is at the rink, right? Like.
You're not wrong about that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
So it's.
I actually never thought about that.
No,
that's interesting.
Well, I mean, I would assume that anytime there's a big tournament, right, that a Canadian team would probably be called in to play. There's nothing. We love going to warm places in the winter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in Canada, you guys are so lucky because, well, I guess maybe more if you're in the Toronto area or Vancouver, I'm not sure. You've got so many good hockey teams, like so many kids play. It's so easy to find good competition within a reasonable distance. When you're here, you've got to travel there, to get good hockey. Like we used to go when they were younger to Toronto all the time and play in little summer tournaments like the Ronald McDonald tournament and Canada's Wonderland. And I've been to Edmonton a couple times in the summer for a tournament out the Edmonton, the brick tournament.
The brick tournament, yeah.
How's that?
Steph was in that brick tournament. We were there.
The brick.
So just
In our city, it's 65,000, and within 10 miles, there's 8 rinks.
That's insane.
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
That's actually
Okay, we've got
crazy.
5 million, and there's
Probably 6 rinks.
yeah,
7 rinks,
exactly.
maybe.
Yeah, and I think they actually, if I'm not mistaken, they're all owned by both Dr. Pepper and the Dallas Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Dallas Stars own them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there was a couple originally that were not, but now I think they're all owned by the Stars.
Yeah, which I think makes sense. I mean, it's good to
Sure.
grow the game, right? If you it's good to have players to become fans, and yeah. I mean, have you now in the area that you're at? Are there any other players in the NHL in around you there?
There's a few. There's been starting to be more, but there's we got Blake Coleman, plays on the Devils.
Yeah.
He's me and Seth. Stefan Nason's from here, played, and I think he was in, I want to say Ottawa this year. I could be wrong about that though. Drafted by Anaheim originally.
Max Gilden.
Well, yeah, we have a few guys who've signed in the NHL. Couple guys have been drafted. It's been there's been years where it's been growing though, and now you're starting to see so many kids are playing now around the area. So I think you're seeing more and more kids now going to college that were younger when all this kind of was starting, and so there's going to be quite a few, I think, coming from here that will be able to get to the NHL. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, it is good. I think the game is legitimately growing. We make fun of some certain markets, but you've. I won't make you name them, but there's some southern cities that have 2 or 3 fans. Feels like when you watch them on TV.
Yeah.
What's that like to walk into an NHL arena, play a game? There's here 2-part question: play in a arena where there's no fans, and then B, go to like Arizona where you're almost like the home team if you're the Oilers, right? You walk in there and it's 50% Oilers fans. Were you in the Battle of Alberta game this year? Did you play that one?
Yeah,
in Calgary.
I played them once at home and I think twice in Calgary.
Were you at the? Were you playing in the game, the epic one, the Smith versus?
The goalie fight. Yeah, I was on the bench for that one.
Okay, maybe you know what? Screw the last question because we got to ask about that game. Forget that. It took us way too long to get here because that we love that hockey. Give us your thoughts on that game. Like, what was that like? What was the energy like after the game, before the game? Give us a little bit of backstory. Here's your chance to run your own podcast.
Well, there had been some build-up. My first game I think my second game versus Calgary was in Calgary, and that was the Cassian thing with Kachuk. So it was build-up from that, and then we came off the All-Star break, and we lost to them in a shootout. And I think it was their goalie, Riddich, did a little some celebration. Leon didn't like very much. And then there was talk in the media from them, and I don't know what the whole story was, but I think we just kind of went into that game and there was already a big hate, and I mean you could feel it in the building. I think even with the fans, like there was a lot going on back and forth with the fans. Obviously I'm sure you guys were wearing turtle shirts like everyone else.
You bet we were. You bet we were.
No, but it was a fun game. We went in and we were just trying to win. We kind of just beat St. Louis the night before, so it was weird back to back. And we got up on them, and then I think we got it 6-3, and that's when all hell kind of broke loose, and that happened. We were all kind of standing up, and it was cool to see all the fights. I think Bear and Kachuk and Gagne was going after Giordano, which I was told after the game something happened back with him.
Oh, there's history, yeah.
Back in the day. So I didn't know what was up with that, but that happened, and then Talbot it's just weird because Smith was in Calgary and Talbot was on Edmonton, and you see Talbot and Smith. Smith goes out there and looks at him, and Talbot's like, okay. And we all just got up, and it felt like 19. You know what I mean? It didn't even seem like modern day hockey.
Pretty neat that Nurse was given Talbot directions to where Mike Smith was there.
Yeah, exactly. That's a funny picture. Nurse is pointing, go find him.
So I got a question for you on that thing though. What time did you fall asleep that night?
Oh.
I don't even remember that night. I think we were actually flying to Arizona and got stuck on the runway all night. That's exactly that's what happened that night. Yeah, we didn't sleep till 6 a.m. Believe it or not. Yeah, I don't think I would have been sleeping very much.
Was that the funnest hockey game you ever played in?
Yeah, that I would say. Yeah, that's top two. My world. I can't say that was more fun than my World Junior Gold Medal game against Canada though. That game was.
We're not allowed to talk about that one. We're not allowed to talk about that one.
I know they don't want to talk about that one.
You just hurt us a little bit there.
Yeah. You know what?
Winning a gold in Canada.
Yeah.
In the Bell Center.
Yeah, it was too good.
Yeah. You know what?
Like 50 U.S. fans.
Talk about that because you know what? That's a Canadian dream right there to win World Junior Gold, right? But you won it for U.S. How was that? Like, what was that like? You know, I mean, how was that whole experience? Did you go in there like? I know you talk about always believing you can win, but it's a pretty big undertaking to win that gold. I mean, that's pretty amazing. How was that as an experience all in all?
I actually played with a lot of guys at the national program. We were able to win a under 18 gold, which isn't as Canada's not the best team there, so it's not as big, but it was kind of big for us because it's kind of what you work for. So we had a lot of chemistry already built up, even going to the tournament, and it's probably not fair that we had that chemistry already going in, but we had a good leadership group, and we were all really close and tight knit, and we kind of just took it one game at a time. And when you're in that tournament, you kind of get in your own little bubble. It's weird. Like you're kind of sheltered from everyone else. You have a little bit of family there, but it's just you and that team. And I'll tell you a moment that there was a little bit of doubt is when I think Matthew Joseph scored to make it 4-2 with like 10 minutes left, and we couldn't even hear ourselves think in the Bell Center in the gold medal game. And next shift we scored and then tied it up like 2 minutes after that, and it was kind of just right back to work. But she was there. I mean, it was insane that Canada, and I'll say this to say Canada, I don't know what would have happened if that game went. It shouldn't have gone to a shootout. I'm willing to say that. I don't think a game like that should be decided in a shootout, but I'm going to take the win. But
I've got the gold medal in the safe.
But that's the type of game you definitely want to see. That's the type of game you want to see keep going until someone scored, because it was that good of a game. It
was that good.
Yeah. That's awesome, and great that you were there to see it as well. That's phenomenal.
50 fans in the building.
And they had us separated. By the way, there was like 5 U.S. people there, and 5 U.S. people across.
That's how we do it. We do it right.
On purpose,
we do it right. Yeah.
We're fearing for our life up in there.
Now, were you playing in Portland when you won that?
Yeah.
Was there anybody in Portland that was playing for Canada?
Nope, I did not. We had not one person in Canada. I think I was the only guy. I had a guy playing on Denmark.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah.
We don't talk about them. Oh man. That would be unreal. I mean, just actually, going to those World Junior games, and I've got tickets. If it should even come about this year, in Edmonton, I've got tickets. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it is in Edmonton this year. That's right.
Yeah. If it still happens. Yeah. So fingers crossed. I think it's far enough out. There's some people chirping on Twitter already saying, "Where's the gold medal now?" Well, you got it when you wanted it, right? Yeah. That's awesome. I don't know, Mike. What do you got?
Oh, man.
I've been doing all the talking, which is it kind of gets away.
Subject. I think I'm one of the only. My kids are, if I'm correct, the 2 brothers that have actually won a gold medal on different teams for the under 20 Worlds.
Oh, really?
Seth won in 2013, and back when it was the lockout year, and that was awesome. I think Canada had what was it? Ryan Nugent-Hopkins was on that team.
Yeah.
they had a lot of
Because
players.
I think it was that was an awesome
You
tournament. But
ever-
it was in the worst location, Ufa, Russia. There was nobody there, and then Caleb won. So that's exciting.
Did you go out to Russia to watch?
Huh?
Did you go to Russia to watch?
I did.
Oh,
I
right
did.
on. Ah,
I
that's
made
good.
that trip. Yeah, that was an experience.
I bet. Yeah. I love.
And that's all.
That's it. Yeah. There's a lot of a lot to unpackage there when you say it like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's,
a city that no one knew existed. Literally. No, I mean you wouldn't know the word Ufa,
Yeah, it's
Russia.
tough,
Yeah.
tough city.
And there's actually 1 million people there.
I know. and There's some in that.
Still no one knows it exists.
What?
So-
What's a typical day like, Caleb? Now,
Right now,
yeah.
I'll say things are kind of actually moving a little quicker here in Dallas or in Texas, I should say, than they are in a lot of states. So I'm actually able to go to my gym now with my regular trainer and work out. And then I've been skating this week, so the ice has opened up this week, and so
Yeah,
now
now
it's
it's
like a
kinda
regular. Yeah, now it's like a regular summer day. It would have been last summer. But before that, I had my trainer coming over here and working us out in the little gym we kind of built.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's
So, yeah,
Instagram famous. Your
When this
little
first
gym.
started, I was getting up and I wasn't doing much. I was maybe sitting on a chair watching TV, doing staying at home and trying to stay safe. But
Yeah.
it went quick here. I think we kind of opened up real quick. Once, the last couple weeks.
Yeah.
We are envious of you being on ice.
Yeah. Very.
You guys still can't go on the ice?
No,
No.
not yet.
Oh gosh.
Counting the
Was
days.
it really bad there?
It was only like up to 10 or something. It's 13.
We have 12 cases.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They did a pretty job there, what I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've done pretty decent job here, I think.
If it didn't happen, my team was in the finals.
Yeah, his playoffs got kiboshed.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, we were in the
way.
finals.
And I hear about it every day.
Yeah, so we were in the finals with. This was the first time my team actually did good in a while because our captain, was his name David, he had like what's it called, his neck or like his allergy pills or something. He had a problem for like 3 weeks straight. He couldn't play for 3 weeks or like 4 weeks, so we didn't have him for 4 weeks. And then our team was like not doing so well because we didn't have like the best offense and defense. He's a defenseman, but he's really good at offense. He's fast.
Yeah.
He's kind of like McDavid, but like
A defenseman.
yeah,
That's a good defenseman.
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
fast.
That is a
all-around
darn good
player.
defenseman.
He's an all-around player, and he's just a nice person.
Oh.
That's good.
And then coronavirus had to happen.
Oh. Yeah.
Well,
No, well, that's crazy. That I mean, you guys did a really good job. Your city did of containing it. Apparently, not really having outbreaks. I think starting last week, they could start private lessons, like so kids could go out and skate or small groups, not teams yet. But I'm surprised about that, given that you guys can't even go on the ice.
Yeah, I think we're a little.
Did they
it's
have a
gonna-
timetable? Or-
Yeah, it's gonna start to come around here right away.
I think we might be able to have like a playoff run like the very end.
You're done, man.
I wish
Sorry,
we
bud.
could. I wish we
You're done.
so you got to have a group chat going with the players, right, on WhatsApp or something. Which I know you don't have to confirm or deny. But what was it? What was it like when Leon officially gets the Art Ross? What was the group chat like that day? I mean, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, we had someone just kind of send the picture, and we all just said congrats.
Yeah.
A couple of jokes, like someone, I mean, there's just a few jokes, like a couple of jokes, like thank Connor or something like that.
Oh, yeah,
Just, like,
yeah.
like that, like nothing serious, but we all love him, so
Yeah.
it's exciting. It was really exciting to see. I mean, you look from where he came in the league, and works hard every summer, and he's one of the first guys to drink every day, so he deserves it. Like he works hard. He truly puts the work in. He cares about the team too. He wants to win. That's the special thing about him. So it's exciting to see him do that.
That's awesome to hear.
George Larac referred to McDavid and Draisaitl as Jordan and Pippen. I thought that was pretty cool.
It's not a bad comparison.
No,
not
it's
bad.
Not.
Yeah.
Gosh, the Last Dance, that kind of saved us, didn't it?
Yeah, it really did.
Have you
every Sunday, like parked in front of the TV, texting Steph, like about different things.
Who's
great.
I'm curious, because you're down there on the ice, there's a lot of stuff we don't hear. Who's the best chirper on the team right now? We were talking about Yamamoto trying to get Haas to flip the stick at the end of that Battle of Alberta game, but who's the best chirper on the team right now?
Probably Cassian.
Oh, yeah. No surprise.
He's always got something to say.
You'll have to tell him. Back when he played, of course, he was public enemy number one in Edmonton for a long time. And if you don't know the history, you'll have to look it up. But now, of course, he's a fan favorite. Back when he was in Vancouver, we talk about Twitter a lot on here. There are a ton of Edmonton Oiler fans, myself included, that are blocked by Cassian on Twitter. And I have I have no idea why. Yeah, I've never.
What are you guys doing?
I don't even know. But
I think I said something I shouldn't have after he ran Gagne.
Yeah. You'll have to tell him. You'll have to ask him how long his block list is on Twitter, because it's. I've actually gone and done an advanced search to see what I could have said, and there's nothing other than I've got Oilers in my. So I think he just did a block of every Oilers fan that's out there back when he was playing in Vancouver.
Mike can have that story, but I'm pretty sure I earned it.
You earned it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. You'll have to ask him. I don't. He's got to. There's got to, because I brought that up. I brought that up with somebody once, and then all of a sudden everybody else chimed in and said, "I'm blocked too." So he was,
Oh my God.
he must have just spent a day blocking Oilers fans. He was not well liked, and then of course after he came here, and he's turned his life around, and he's done so many great things as a player. He's really a fan favorite now, and in the playoffs in 2017, I don't know if you had, how much you know about when those series took place, but he was running everybody, and it was just so much fun to watch. Like he played with the most passion that I've seen him play with in years, and I hope to see that this year when you guys get out there. I think he's best when he's in those kind of situations. So it'd be fun to be around.
I'm pretty sure Logan Couture is still healing from that series.
Yeah.
That was my favorite series there's ever been with the Oilers, because there were so many hits, there was so many nice plays, there was so many high scoring games.
Yeah, there's a lot of action. It's kind of just really fun.
What's the biggest hit you've laid out in the NHL so far? Do you remember it?
I haven't really laid one out. I think I got.
He's taken a couple.
I got Greenway on Minnesota in the corner once, pretty good. He was a big guy. That was it. That's the only one I can remember that I did something like kind of.
You remember the biggest one you've taken? Because I remember the biggest hit I've ever taken. Yeah.
Taken.
Vancouver was the big one. No.
Yeah, I took one. That's a good. I almost forgot. Like my first time I got called up for that 17 games. Like I think toward the end of that, I took I jumped in the play and got a pass and shot it and went into the corner, and I kind of opened myself up, and Eric Branson, who's a pretty big boy,
Yeah, a little
got
bit.
me, and I felt him out a hold of me, and he just took me right into the boards, and I went down and had to go into concussion protocol and do all that. A little slow to get up.
Did he at least say welcome to the NHL when he did it? Or?
No, he just looked like he loved that he
Geez, yeah.
was nothing happy about it or nothing, just kind of straight face skate away.
Oh.
Stay down.
What's your favorite moment in the NHL?
You know, I don't know. That's a tough one. I think. You know, I would say first goal, but we were losing that game 6-1, so it's kind of tough to say 6. You know, I mean, that was a tough game, so it's. I don't know. That's.
Or is it hard to even analyze that while you're playing?
No, it's not hard to analyze. It's just, I would probably say first goal. Looking back, during the game, it was after the game is when I realized. I remember going into my hotel room and I remember calling her. That was, like, it was cool when you really got back and you realized that it was your first goal. But, like, during the game, it was tough because we were down 6-1 and made it 6-2. It wasn't really a big deal, but it kind of hit me when I got to the hotel room. Like, wow, that was a pretty big. I mean, that was a big moment. Like, it was cool.
Yeah, you could say that. At that moment, by the way, you surpassed me in goals scored in the NHL. So congratulations. Up until that time, we were tied.
Oh man,
it's funny. It's really funny.
So I have somebody that's asking, were you much of a fighter in junior?
No, I had 2 fights in junior, 1 each year.
We know in mites and squirts you were led the league in PIMS.
Yeah, by a long shot, by a mile. I led the league in PIMS.
I think we had to talk to him going into juniors we had to, like, literally say, you have to decide what type of player you want to be, because if you're going to fight and that's what you're going to go with here going into the ed program, then you need to be prepared that that's what the scouts are going to see and that's what the coaches are going to see and that's going to be the expectation of you. So you need to decide right now, are you going to try to be a skilled player who has a long career, or do you want to be the fighter? And, a lot of those guys move around the league, and, as a parent, you probably don't want your kid to be, to play that role. Everybody has a role, but, so that was a talk that we all had with him as far as make a decision now where you want to go, because once you head down that path, that's pretty much, what you're going to set yourself up for.
Yeah.
So he didn't do much after that.
Not really.
Well,
after a game like that one in Calgary, though, do you wish you got in one? Because that sometimes happens, right?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be, I'm sure it'll happen again, an intense moment where you might be on the ice and it just happens. You can't fight that. Definitely don't go looking for it, but if something happens, I guess you just kind of have to go with it.
Now, I can't remember if I asked you last time, Amy, or not, but did you know Edmonton was going to pick you?
No. Are you done?
I gotta go to bed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's got an early morning.
Yeah, no. You know what? We didn't plan to have you on, and thanks for dropping in. As I said,
I am happy to talk.
Yeah, no, this was a ton of fun. I think great for everybody, and again. Go kick some ass out there, man, and bring home a cup for us, because you need to see what it's like in Edmonton when you go on a deep run in the playoffs. So just, you know what? No excuses. Just get it done.
Thank you. All right, perfect. Good advice. I like it. No, thank you guys. We obviously, it's goes without saying, you guys are great fans, so it's nice to be able to talk to you guys and get a different perspective every once in a while.
My hair.
All right, I'll see you guys later.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Caleb.
Good night.
Well, that went the whole night. We've almost been here 2 hours.
Yeah, we actually went into. You're gonna have to now talk to the goalies. We do a run the goalie segment usually at 9:30 our time, which poor Chad and poor Bob now, who are listening in happily, I might add, they they'd normally be on right now talking, and we give them a hard time, well, because they're goalies. And it's and Amy, you did, you know what, as far as being a hockey parent goes, you did the right thing by raising players instead of goalies. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you. That's good to know. I don't know if I could have handled it as a parent.
Yeah, no,
Don't tell Bob and Chad this, but goalies aren't as bright. So you got a shining young man there that's a sharp and very well mannered, and you've done a great job.
yeah.
That's
And I'm just teasing
true.
about the
We'll
goalie
keep
part.
that between us.
That is
Yeah.
you've made a lot of fans yourself, and your party ticket is going to be pretty big, especially if the Oilers go far into the playoffs and they start allowing fans back. Um, you might not be allowed out of Edmonton. You'll be. It'll be.
Hey, I don't think there's no more snow on the ground, is there?
No. Thankfully, no. This is a
We're
great
all
time of
good.
year. Yeah.
But if you want to see snow, we just have to take you to the mountains because it's still there.
Yeah.
No, I'm fine. I'm ready to head that way.
I hope
Okay,
you
guys, I'm
find a way to
sorry
get in.
we stayed on so long and ruined, like messed up your segment.
No way.
I'm sure they're just fine. In fact, Bob's commenting, although he did say he's unsubscribing after the goalie comments. He's giving us a hard time. Yeah, no, this is it's been a lot of fun, which I knew it would be last time. It was fun to re-listen to our conversation last time and hear some of the funny stories, and now to what's even better is to get Caleb to back them up. Is even
Yeah.
better. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure. I'm glad he kept it clean. And I mean, there's probably some stories they could tell on me that, think I could be in jail maybe. I don't know.
Oh, that was good.
No, I'm just kidding.
That was funny though that he's who are you talking to?
I didn't tell him anything. I'd actually come in from work and then I had to go do a dinner and then I ran in and, changed and came in here and yeah, nosy. But if it was a private conversation.
Yeah, it slowly did not become that. So I was asking him that quick question, which was, and I can't remember if I asked you. I don't think I did because I listened to pretty much the whole interview. Did you know that Caleb was going to be picked by Edmonton?
No, we did not. We
No?
have no idea.
Yeah, I remember you. I mean, you had. I remember we talked a little bit about Seth because you thought at one point he was going to go first, right? And expected it, and but you didn't know. Were there? Obviously, he had talked to Edmonton in the process during the process, I assume, or did they pick him out of the blue?
I really think it was out of the blue.
Really?
We were into the fourth round, and at this point, we're all just on our phones. We have no idea when he's going or where he's going. And to be honest, I didn't even hear his name called. That's how out of it we were. And then before I know it, he's like standing up and walking down, and I'm racing to get to my camera, and so we had no idea. And so we've just been sitting there quite a long time. But clearly, it was pretty exciting. You've got Connor McDavid, and I mean, it just was altogether a really exciting draft weekend. And, you can imagine how excited he was about that. So it's like when Sydney was young, you're going to go to where Sydney is. It's, who doesn't want to, do that? And then you've got Edmonton on top of it. Just the history that, I mean, wow. So.
Well, and exciting that he's, he's going to be there this year. I know the way that it worked out and all that, but he's going to get a chance to play some really meaningful hockey, which is pretty darn cool.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
It is.
No, there'd be a lot of clenched fists, I'm sure, while you're watching this year.
Yeah, they want to come. There's a Dallas station that always they've been asking me for a year, could they come, or all year since Caleb was calling, could they come film me watching the games back to back? Because the way it worked with Seth on the East Coast, his game would start at 6, and then Edmonton would start at 8. And so it's great for me like that because I can just watch them back to back. And they want to come film me watch the games, and absolutely not. Like under any circumstance, I would embarrass myself. I would embarrass my kids, the organizations. Like,
I feel like I want to see you watch a hockey game, though.
there's a lot of standing and yelling at the TV and then sitting back down, and it just depends on yeah, and that's good and bad. I mean, when they're doing great things, you're jumping up, and then when they're not, you're also jumping up, and yeah.
I'm not as invested from a family perspective, but I can tell you that that's a lot like how I am when I'm watching the Oilers, especially in the playoffs. In fact, I was my oldest daughter. I was a single father with her. She was about 2 years old, and it was just her and I when the Oilers were in the Stanley Cup playoffs in 2006. We just had George Laraque on talking about it. And I didn't really leave the house much because it was just her and I, and so she would play right in front of the TV and the TV and the couch, and every time the Oilers scored, I would jump up and yell so loud that she would cry. I'm fairly certain she's got PTSD from that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm probably scared to death.
Yeah. So I can only imagine if it was my son playing or something, just how much worse I'd be. And I'm guessing that's exactly what you're like.
Well, I've noticed, and I've even posted, even my kids, if they're home and they're watching the NBA playoffs when they're at home or something, they get up and stand in front of the TV. And I've started videoing it, and I've done it on some of my stories, last summer. But I think it runs in the family. We get up and start screaming and just stand in front of the TV like that's going to make a difference and watch. But I love sports. Sports, it just takes you away from all the other things in life for that 2 or 3 hours. And it's actually one of the things that when we're all there, especially when we want to talk about what we're going through now in society, is it's one of the few places that, for the most part, 18,000 or 20,000 or 60,000 in a football arena, come together and they're all cheering for the same thing, usually the same team, and it doesn't matter race, religion, age, nothing matters, and your team scores and everyone around you is high-fiving, and that's one of the things that I love that my boys are involved in it, but I just think sports is such a great outlet for everyone, and I think we take for granted those times that really is when we see nothing. We're all there, literally sitting shoulder to shoulder, cheering and yelling at the refs and telling everybody when they're supposed to shoot or not shoot or pass or and so I think that we need this back. We need to get some of this back and get a little, there's changes to be made, but I think that's one of the things that is just one of those great environments for everyone. And like I said, it takes you away from everything else for a few hours.
I 100% agree with you. Mike, we're nearing the end of the show, and as normal, I've done about 90% of the talking when our guest isn't talking. So I'm going to let you run it down, and I'll say my final words. I already knew, Amy, you'd be a great guest. That goes without saying. You're, I don't know any other way to say this, but you're a hell of a personality, and the good things about you shine through every time, and the good part about being a good hockey mom and all of those things. And both Caleb and Seth they show all of that as well. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm hopeful we get you on again. And, with or without Caleb, you're a wonderful guest. And it was just a bonus to have Caleb on tonight too. He was he was fantastic, and I'm told it's his birthday in a couple days. So make sure tomorrow morning you wish him a happy birthday from us. Mike, take it away, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think it's awesome you raised 3 boys, and 2 of them play in the National Hockey League. But I think what's more important is they're gentlemen, and they're just fine young men. You've done a wonderful job there, Amy, and we're proud of you. And it's not even close. You're easily the coolest hockey mom that we know, and it's great. And it's great that you're part. It's great that you're part.
Only one. I'm gonna take that and run with it. Okay.
Good. And I'm sort of disappointed in myself that you were at that Winnipeg game, and so were me and Michael, and we didn't even know you were there, because definitely we would have bought you a drink and said hello.
Oh man, well, I'll be there again soon. The first time that we can get back in there, I will be there. So us and then the girls that I'm gonna have drinks with, that you guys need to hook me up with, I've got to get their contact info.
I'm sure that'll be on the way.
We're gonna have to, definitely get together and hopefully do another one of these.
Betcha.
During the playoffs or after we win the cup.
I'll send you.
I want to win. Yeah.
I'll send you a DM tonight, so in 6 months you'll get it. I'm just bugging you.
Yeah. I know. I'll have to give you guys my actual cell phone number so you can reach me.
Oh.
That's okay. That's okay. We got you in, and we got Caleb too, and that's super cool. So thank you so much for this.
No, thank you. Thanks so much for having me, and it was a blast. And I'm still going to work on my TikTok video and see if we can get Caleb in one, and I will be sure to send it to you. I'm trying. I've done a couple with him, and he just messes up. He messes them all up.
If you need any help, editing, just let me know. I'll gladly help and help produce that TikTok, because I think that would be epic for us Oilers fans. We're all in. We're all in.
Good. All right. Well, I might take you up on that. So, all right, guys. Well, good night.
Yeah.
Finish your. Do I just? Okay.
Good. You can just say good night, and we're all good. No, we're still on, but we. That's the way you end an Amy Jones podcast, right there. That's the best way. Go Oilers! Awesome. Have a great night. Thanks so much. Well, hey, Mike. That I'm just gonna get us both on here. That was pretty phenomenal. That was unexpected to have. I've got the wrong thing on here. Just hold on. All right. That was great. I mean, who expected to have Caleb on for, and what a guy, right? Like, to come on, and he almost spent the whole 2 hours with us.
Yeah, I did.
How is that for? I've met a number of NHL players, and they don't have some of them don't have the time for you, right? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he didn't even hesitate. In fact, the big thing was I was watching him. He was pretty uncomfortable, sort of hunched over there for about. He finally told his mom, "Move over." Right? I need to sit down. Yeah. Yeah. So that was really cool, and of course Amy is Mick Scrub 64 says Amy is just the best, and 100% agree with you. That was awesome, and Max, he can tell the boys on the hockey team that he got to interview
Caleb Jones.
Jones, yeah. that's a pretty damn big deal. That's Max's podcast debut, by the way, right there. Pretty good. He's got a future in podcasting. Pretty exciting. Now Amy's on, so and watching in. So that's good. And thanks again, Amy. Any last words for tonight, Mike? I mean, that was a fun episode to do tonight.
I think Amy's part Albertan there, almost like she comes from the same school of thought as me. I look at sports as, a way to decompress and sort of escape the realities of your day-to-day life and everything that we've all been going through. I mean, we sit back, and every once in a while we get to see an MMA on a Saturday night, or WWE, or Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning play golf, and we just lick it up because we're starving for it. We need that release. So I just can't wait for it to come back. So I hope it nothing kind of gets in the way of that, and it happens, and we get sports again. We get to watch guys on the ice, and jealous of Caleb because he gets to skate, but that'll come around for us too. So, did you see the pride on his face when he realized he had outscored me in the NHL? I think he would have almost paid money for that joke. He licked that up. He liked that one, yeah. That's no, what a great sport. So much fun tonight. Mike, as usual, thanks for helping out, and thanks for being there. Make sure you give Max a big hug and say thanks. And I'm glad that I took a moment and got over myself and gave him a chance to ask some questions, because he, it's You're quicker to give the mic up to Max than me. Yeah. How old's Max? He's 12. 12. Yeah. I mean, I can only think to myself as I was looking over at him and thinking, there he is, on a Skype session with a current NHL player. And how cool would it be to, take over for a second and ask a couple questions? You get that, you get that opportunity. Maybe, there's not many kids that get that opportunity. They get that if they win the raffle and win junior reporter for the day or something like that. So, pretty darn cool. All right. I think now is when we say goodnight. Thanks again. Yeah. Thanks, Oil Country, for tuning in. That was a lot of fun. Our episode with George was good and relevant and hard hitting, and we needed to do that, I think, for everything that's going on. But this was a bit of a different one. It was a lot of fun, and having Caleb there was an extra bonus. And sorry he rained on Amy's parade, but that was cool. And next week, Thursday, we'll have Stats Guy Bob and Chad on for Run the Goalie episode, which we were supposed to have at 9:30 tonight, but I think they, it's like late breaking news, right? You just you gotta stay with the story. Yeah, you gotta stay with the story. That's right. All right, everybody. This is Michael for Oilers Live. Have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. Good night. Oilerslive.